You're listening to Boobies and Newbies, brought to you by the Frolic Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by The Duke Heist, the first book in the Wild Winchesters series by New York Times bestselling author Erica Ridley. Okay, y'all, this is exactly why I believe in manifesting what you want. You've heard me time and time again discuss how much I love a good heist story. In fact, we have an entire Steamy Spotlight interview with Nana Malone that's all about heist stories. And now, Erica Ridley has delivered another one. If you're a fan of Ocean's 11, 13, 8, not 12 because it was stupid, Logan Lucky, and of course, one of my all-time favorite TV shows, Leverage, then this is the book for you. We've got secret identities. We've got forbidden love. We've got opposites attract. Seriously, y'all, I am peeing my pants with excitement. The Wild Winchester series tells the story of Chloe Winchester and her 5 adopted siblings, all of them each with their own unique talents. Together, this motley family fights for justice from the margins of high society. So basically, Regency bad guys doing good things, like Robin Hood, but with more dukes and carriages and stuff. There are heists, there are capers, and for all of the comic book fans out there, there's even an homage to the stealing of the wheels off the Batmobile meet cute between Batman and a future Robin. Can you say adorkable? The thing that interests me most about the Duke Heist and the whole Wild Winchester series in general is that the Winchester siblings represent such a diverse and inclusive cast in terms of sexuality, gender identity, class, race, and even abledness. And this is something that I know we are all craving a lot more in romance today, especially in historical romance. Plus, I have every confidence that the diversity will be handled respectfully and with due diligence because Erica Ridley herself is biracial, bisexual, and has a chronic disability. I am beyond thankful that authors like Erica are sharing their own voices stories because we need them now more than ever, and I, for one, cannot wait to read this series. And if you're just as curious about the series as I am, there's a free prequel story that you can read called The Governess Gambit. Love me some alliteration, which I will leave a link to in this episode's show notes. So grab your copy of The Duke Heist at your favorite store or visit ericaridley.com for more info. There's a special bonus for a limited time. If you buy The Duke Heist and register your purchase on Erica's website, she will send you a free bonus Winchester novella. Oh my gosh, I can't get enough of this series and I haven't even started it yet. So visit Erica Ridley, that's ERICARIDLEY.com. And now, back to the show. Welcome to Boobies and Newbies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and it is time for another Steamy Spotlight author interview. Joining me today is none other than author and yogi extraordinaire, Madeleine Henry. As we know, every author has a unique origin story, and let me tell you, Madeleine's is no different. Though Madeleine began her career working in finance, she became moved by yoga philosophy and left the field to write. Today, we're discussing her latest release, The Love Proof, which has been described by reviewers as both academic and loving. Please join me in welcoming Madeleine Henry.
Hey, Kelly, what's up? I am so happy to be here talking to you. Just so excited.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited too. You bring like the most amazing energy, which on a Wednesday morning as we're recording is exactly what I need. So I have to tell you, first of all, I'm absolutely obsessed with your Madeleine Henry Yoga Instagram account because I am not a yogi, but I'm one of those people that strives to be. Like, I wish I could do it. And so it's hashtag yoga goals at its finest.
That is so nice of you. It didn't always start out that way. So, when I was working in finance, I started to get really into yoga, and I just started posting photos of myself doing yoga on my personal account.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a bunch of people unfollow me. These were friends, these were like family. And so I thought, okay, this is embarrassing. I'm not going to spam my personal network with my yoga. So I know, so embarrassing. So I started Madeleine Henry Yoga, which was meant to be my own personal yoga practice Instagram, and then it just got more popular over time, but the origins were really in rejection from people I loved.
Like, sorry, Mom, that you don't appreciate my downward dog, but you know what? The rest of the world does.
Yeah, well, yoga poses can be pretty intimate, and it can make people uncomfortable if suddenly your friend, all they post is, their body, and you're just like, okay, I'm your friend, but like, I'm not married to you. So, yeah, thank God I found this other account, which was actually not even my own idea. People were suggesting, hey, Madeleine, like, you gotta do something like elsewhere for your yoga. So, that is the origin of Madeleine Henry Yoga. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But I started out just posting quotes really that were bits of yoga philosophy that were resonating with me. And over time I've found more, as I've really grown into my author identity, I do post more about my books and what's happening in my life, but the origin was really just mantras and poses.
I love that. And so how long has it been now that you've been practicing yoga?
The fascinating thing is not that long. So I really started as a full-grown adult working in finance, which was a pretty sedentary job. Like, you basically live at your office. And so it's been maybe 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can actually, something fascinating about flexibility is that it's a lot like muscular strength. And so it can be trained just through practice. So a lot of people think that it's this static thing about them. Oh, I'm inflexible, I'm flexible, but really
Yeah.
you can develop it. So I just worked at it for a while, and I now I'm like a contortionist.
Oh,
So,
I know. I've seen the pictures to prove it.
but the point is anyone can do it, and I was just the weirdo who did. So,
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm somebody where I am happy to try like any crazy fitness regime, like any I've done pole dancing classes. I've done
Oh,
yoga.
that sounds fun.
Yeah, like I am up for anything. The thing with me is I am terrible with sticking with something. And so when I did take yoga classes, pre-pandemic, and I was going like twice a week, I was noticing a difference in my flexibility. I felt taller. I felt, like I just had better posture. And then, of course, things broke down. And I'm doing it once a week with a friend who's hosting free yoga classes over Zoom. So it's kind of, I'm trying to incorporate it back into my schedule because I know if I just start making it more regular, it will make a difference, like you're saying.
Totally. And I think that one of the reasons why people quit things is because they expect results to happen so much faster than they
Oh,
actually do.
yes.
And it's something we all know, but if actually just sticking with something for a while, you'll get the results in the long term. You just have to wait. You just gotta wait.
I'm so terrible at waiting. I'm an Aries.
I want it now. I need it now. Now or never. Yeah.
It's so true. I'm like, I thrive on competition. So if I see somebody doing something that, I can't do, I just think, why?
I know. But then it comes down to finding the little milestones along the way.
Yes.
So, it's never like, oh, I'm going to only celebrate when I can do a handstand and put my feet on my head. It's like, I'm going to celebrate when I can, like do a headstand. I'm going to celebrate, all the journey. There are a bunch of
Yes.
milestones.
All about making those SMART goals.
Exactly.
I hear that. Well, okay. So you mentioned it, and I definitely want to take things back because, I know that you began your career in finance at Goldman Sachs, no less. And so I am all kinds of curious about how someone in the world of finance transitions into becoming a writer.
That is so kind of you, first of all. Thank you. And if that's not a compliment, I guess I'm egotistical. But basically, the truth is that I really always wanted to write novels. And it's a weird dream because it's a lot of alone time and it's a lot of thinking, but I really just wanted to write novels. So senior year of college, I actually wrote a novel each semester and submitted them both for publication. They were totally rejected. So I went to Goldman basically as a failed novelist. And it was only while I was working there that I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is because my third book, this is going to be amazing. I thought I would set it in a investment banking world. So I thought, okay, this is a topic where there's a real existing audience. And this is something that's a lot more commercial. I can make it sexy. I can make it full of juicy anecdotes.
Investment banking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it used to be a lot sexier in the 80s, but I brought it back. I made investment banking sexy again. So I was like, this is a great idea. And then so my first book, Breathe In, Cash Out, is about an investment banker who wants to become a yogi. And it pokes fun at people who have white collar jobs and existential crises, people who are completely comfortable, but totally angsty messes. So that was my first book. And now The Love Proof is, as soon as I sold it, I left finance and wrote what became The Love Proof. And I didn't try and choose my topic strategically. I just wrote what I wanted to write, which was a super emotional, visceral love story about connection that lasts forever. No spoilers though. No spoilers. And so yeah, that's my writing story.
Wow. Okay. So, and when you said I want to be a writer, did you specifically know that you wanted to write romance?
I did not. My first two books, the ones that were rejected in college, were science fiction.
Oh.
So I really just loved writing. I loved thinking about things that weren't real, living in these made up worlds with these made up characters. And it's only over time that the more you live, the more material you have. And romance just becomes a super important topical issue for a woman in her 20s. And so that showed up in my writing because that was a major concern for me as a human being. So
it actually makes sense now that you say that you wrote science fiction before, because I know one of the things I'm going to want to talk about when we get to The Love Proof is the fact that this book spans so many decades that there's kind of this futuristic element there as well, which, I mean, that's what sci-fi is all about, right?
Absolutely. And, so this book is a love story over a lifetime. And I remember I was doing some events for Breathe In, Cash Out, and people would ask, okay, what are you working on now? What's next? And I would say, oh, it's a love story about over a lifetime. And I had people say, well, how could you possibly know what's going to happen, reflecting on love on your bedside? And I thought, well, this is the conceit of fiction. You make things up, you do your homework, and then you make it up. And I think it came out okay. I mean, I believe it, but yeah.
I think a lot of people think it came out okay, so don't worry about that.
Thanks. But my fiance and I, something we say is that every successful endeavor begins with optimism. And so you have to believe that you can have insight into a love story over a lifetime, that you can create something fictional out of nothing. And you just got to believe that you can do it. And then you'll learn it as you go.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. You guys should have that engraved on something.
Yeah, we should get bumper stickers.
Yes, I love it. Madeleine Henry bumper stickers for the win.
Love it.
You can make it a goal for 2021 so that by the time you have like your next signing or event, you can give them out.
That's genius. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, obviously this is a romance podcast, and so I'm curious, are you a romance reader yourself?
I am. I just finished Beach Read very recently by Emily
Oh,
Henry, which
yes.
which I loved, and I have to say this is boobies and newbies, so I can say it. The sex scene in that book is like, maybe I actually get uncomfortable sometimes when I read it if it's not done well,
Okay.
but that was done so well that I was like, this is the best sex scene I have ever, and I listened to it on audio tape, and I was like, this is the best sex scene I've ever heard, ever. Beach
Oh
Read.
my gosh, I love it. Yeah, I read that one when it first came out, and I loved it. And you know what? I'm noticing that a lot of authors during the winter months are releasing these books that take place in like tropical locations or like
Mm.
on the summer beach getaways, and I am loving that because I am in Minnesota. I am craving a summer beach getaway right now, so I might need to do a reread of that one.
Yeah, and she has another book coming out which I'm excited to read too. So I'm watching her stuff and I am just enjoying it. That's my
Yeah,
favorite.
I love that. Yeah, no, I am all about the beach reads. And I mean, you said when it comes to sex scenes, it's like hit or miss depending on the language, the author and everything. I will say I am not a huge audiobook listener and I really want to be.
Mm.
And I think one of the things that holds me back is the thought about listening to the sex scenes. I don't know, but what
Well,
what do you think?
well, nobody's like, you're not hearing the actual noises. You're hearing the descriptions.
I
So, like, let
know.
me eradicate that notion just off the bat. But what's great about audiobooks is that you can multitask. And so
Yes.
to me, that's very freeing because I can work out and audiobook, or I can do an errand and audiobook. And then you've done, your errands and you've read two books and you feel like Superwoman. So that's
Yeah,
it
that's true.
broadens the possibilities.
I love the idea of being
Yeah.
able to say like, what did you do today? Oh, well, I went to the grocery store and I read a book while doing it.
Yeah, exactly. You just one up your friends easily. Something else about sex scenes done correctly is I really like when there's a lot of emotion in them. And that scene in
Mm,
Beach Read, there is so much emotion in that one. There's so much connection. There's like real love. And I think that that just enhances all of the physical description. So that to me was a winning combo.
okay, so you thrive off of like the emotional connection. And that makes sense after having read your book because it's all about emotional connection.
Yeah, that's really the core of it. And so this is the love proof is, no spoilers, about a woman who tries to prove that the ones we love are always connected to us.
Mm,
And she is a physicist, so she does it through her research about the universe. And so you learn about the cosmos, about space and time. You learn interesting facts about reality. But at the core of her research is this romantic question about why she feels such a strong connection to one person. So I would say that, yes, connection is super important to me. I'm super attuned to it. And that's why I wrote a whole book about connection and tied it to the rest of the universe. So yeah.
I love that idea too. And I will say, I'm releasing this episode in February as the book is out. And so I am all about seeing not only more scientists and scientific representation in romance, but also women in science.
Love it. Yeah. Women helping women. That is huge. And what's funny is that I read this interview once with Marissa Mayer of Yahoo, who was the only female engineer at Google when she started. And she said that she never thought of herself as a woman in that context. She never really noticed she was
Mm,
the only woman there. She just viewed herself as an engineer with other engineers. And it was a sort of a genderless view. And I
okay.
think that that's sort of how that resonates with me, where I never viewed Sophie as a STEM woman. I just viewed her as a scientist.
Yeah.
And that's just my own, how I see the world. Is it was genderless while I was making it, and then afterwards I get this feedback, oh, it's so wonderful that you wrote about a woman in science. But to me, the scientist was like more at the top of my mind than being a woman in science. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and it kind of reminds me of, I spent several years working in Hollywood and kind of saw the different sides of, I worked in casting, I worked in post-production, like a little bit of everything. And, there's this term that we've used for years now called like colorblind casting. Like I'm going to cast somebody
mm,
who's perfect for the role, regardless of their age, gender, race, and then over the last year or so, especially as we've seen a lot happening with race relations in the United States, we've kind of said that's not what we should be talking about. We should be talking about color conscious casting. Like we should be
mm,
conscious of the fact that somebody is Black and what can that add to the role. We should be conscious of the fact
mm,
that someone identifies as female or non-binary and how does that change their perspective. So yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting that
mm.
people have different reads of it, and you went into it thinking like, she's just a scientist. This is what she does, which I think is the view we all want to have. Like, I think that's like
Mm.
the idealistic view of what we should be in the world. And maybe in the future, that is where we will be. But I also love that people are noting like, well, this is especially incredible because she's a woman in science.
Yeah, and I love that people love it more because of that. And so I see people
Yeah.
categorize this in certain lists online as STEM heroines and well, women in science. And so I do like that it gets
Mm-hmm.
emphasized because of that. Like, that's great for my work. And so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I also wanted to point out that I love the fact that you've included a book club discussion guide with this book because I'm noticing a lot more authors doing that these days. And I think in 2021, especially, this is a time where we are craving connection more than ever. And book
Yes.
clubs are absolutely on the rise because they provide a way to do that. And so, my question is, why do you think the Love Proof would make a great book club pick?
Well, I think that it taps into very important and common experiences about connection to people who may not be in your life right now. And that's not a spoiler, but I think that it brings up a very common experience of people feeling connected to those who are no longer in their everyday lives. And I think that book clubs can be a wonderful space to talk, depending on how well you know everyone, to talk about the personal experiences that this book brings up for you. And I've been really pleasantly surprised by how many people relate to that. And a lot of people are really eager to talk about this idea of intense connection. And you don't have to call it soulmates, and you don't have to call it anything, but people with whom you really resonate and people who you really click with, who stay with you. And so I think that I've been very excited to see all the discussions happening around that. And I think that this book is so rich with ideas about the universe that you just want to talk about them because you're actually like learning things. And so that is also exciting. And I think that when you talk about a book, you discover how you feel about it. And so you might leave with an impression, but you're not sure. And there are some decisions in this book that are not so clearly right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that a book club is a place where you really air that out, and you air out, like, is this the correct decision that he made or that she made? And what do you think about that? And so I think that because there are some controversial things, you can talk about it in a book
Yeah,
club.
there's a lot of room for discussion, and that's what you want in a book club.
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's not so cut and dry.
Right.
And so when you go to a book club, you can work through the complexity of the morality and you can really get to the heart of it. So I'm excited for that. And I also love to zoom into book clubs. So on my website, there is a contact form where if you give me information about your book club and you read Love Proof, I'm happy to zoom in, say, hey, what's up? I'm Madeleine.
Hey, what's up?
And
That's
so I do
really
that, and that's
how
really fun.
that's how I hope all of your book club discussions go, is just like, hey, what's up? This is my book.
Yeah, exactly. So that's fun for me personally. Also because pandemic, isolation, just any escape is welcome.
I love that. Well, I have to tell you, I'm part of like several online book clubs, so I'm very excited to suggest this as a choice for the upcoming months.
Thank you. That is so nice.
Yeah, no, I think like you said, there's a lot of room for discussion because it's not black and white. It's not so specific about, what's right and wrong, or what is this love, is it not I mean, there's so much room to talk about it, and I think everybody will have different opinions because everyone has their own lens. And so it's really exciting to have conversations like that. And I think this is a book that definitely will have a lot of that come along with it.
Yeah, and so one of the key discussion issues is the idea of the trade-off of your own identity and being in a relationship.
Oof.
And so I think this is something that can happen to women, especially,
Yes.
is that they tend to put the other person first.
Amen.
And they might let go of things that were important to them, or as certain aspects of self-care, or something that was important to your identity before the relationship. You can let go of it. And is that good or bad? Are you, part of something that's enhancing you both? And are you giving, or are you really taking away from yourself? And what are those lines in this story? And I think it's important for women to talk about that, because women generally are givers. And so, you got to talk about giving and boundaries with your book club. So
no, it's so true. And I can think of 10 names off the top of my head of people I know who I consider to be some of the most giving and thoughtful people in the world, because they're those people that want everyone to be happy, everyone to be taken care of, and they will do anything to make sure that happens. And so on the one hand, you think, oh my gosh, what an incredible human being, but at what cost? I don't want this to take a toll on you and your mental health and your well-being. So, oh my gosh, yeah, that's hitting real close to home, let me tell you.
Yeah, that's an important issue. Women
Yes.
should talk about that. Yeah.
It's so true. Well, I love that. Yeah, that's just one great thing to talk about in this book. Okay, another thing I wanted to ask you about is that I noticed you had created a couple of Spotify playlists for the Love Proof, which you can find on Madeleine's website. It's madeleinehenry.com. And I know that every writer's process is different, but I'm so curious about the story behind Spotify playlists for authors, because I wonder, are these songs that you listen to while writing? Are they songs that you envision playing during specific moments in the story? What's the story there?
That is such a great question. And I think that there are two playlists on my website that are related to this book. And one of them is a mood playlist that captures an emotion, I think, at the heart of this story. And so I did listen to all those songs while I was writing it. And they really have to do, I'm not going to give anything away, but it is the emotional core of this story in that playlist. And I love music. I find music to be so inspirational. I've heard that all art aspires to be music for how instantly and powerfully it can make you feel. So I'm very passionate that that playlist is a really beautiful companion to this story. And then the second playlist is called The Classics. And it is a playlist that Jake, who's the main male character in this story, makes. So I actually just create it in real life, which I think is a fun multimedia kind of thing. And so that is what he listens to in the book. And it's a playlist that he shares with Sophie, his love, and is present throughout their connection. And I think that people can relate over music. A song can come back and immediately take you back to that moment. And that's something that becomes very important for their relationship. And so I just created it in real life. So those are the 2 playlists. Love them. They are awesome.
It's a mixtape. He made her a mixtape.
Yeah, he did. He's cute, you know.
Isn't that funny that like Spotify has become like the modern mixtape? Like, hey girl, I made you a Spotify playlist.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love it. That's so fun. Yeah, no, you're just full of fantastic bumper sticker ideas. Like the whole idea of like art wanting to, what was it, to imitate music or become music? Like,
yeah, all art aspires to be music.
I love that. Yeah. Well, I say you just say that you said it yourself, and then you can put it on a bumper sticker.
Yeah, I can just plagiarize amazing sayings and stick them on the back of your car, and you can pay me for it. So
yeah,
that's my new business.
You can just put like a small asterisk at the bottom that says like, I didn't come up with this, but I did say it at one point, so it's okay.
Exactly. But I think playlists are a really interesting partner for books. I know that when Logic had his book Supermarket come out, he released all new music that he made to go with his book, which I thought was super cool. And I know I've seen book playlists before where you're supposed to listen to songs on certain passages. I think that's just a fun adjunct. Like, why not?
It's so cool. Like, exactly. Why not? Like, it's one more mixed medium. I will say I love seeing authors' playlists because they're always so different, first of all. And then also just it kind of gives you like a little insight into how somebody thinks, like, as they're working. Like, oh, I would have never thought of, Bruno Mars, but why not? I think my favorite so far that I've seen was when I was reading The Girl in the Love Song last year. And this is Emma Scott's book. And in the book, there are actually, if you read the Kindle version, links to certain songs on Spotify, like in the book. So as you're reading the book, you can click a link and it'll like start to play. And I was like, okay, this is like the future right here. This is where the future of Kindle books and music colliding is going. Like, I can see it.
That's amazing. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the multimedia for books in the future. But I think that the conventional hardcover book, it does have a lot going for it. I saw a joke ad that it has infinite battery life and it's indestructible. And I mean, there's something to that. People love hard books. They love the physical connection with it. Yes. So there'll be multimedia, but I think the hard book is here to stay as well.
Oh, I agree. And I love both. Like when anybody asks, are you an e-reader or a hard copy reader? I'm like, why do I have to choose? I want all of them. Like I like the easy accessibility of an e-reader. It's great. You can one click buy something and start reading it 10 seconds later. But there's no denying the joy that I feel when I look over at my bookshelf and see all the different colors and shapes and sizes of books there, like most of which, I still need to read.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no reason we have to choose. So in The Love Proof, your 2 main characters meet at Yale, a university that I know you attended as well. And I will tell you, the only reason I know that Yale's mascot is a bulldog is from my many years of watching Gilmore Girls. But I know that your previous book, Breathe In and Cash Out, is a banking, you mentioned it, a banking analyst who makes the jump to a career in yoga. And I think it's safe to assume, judging by these 2 books, that you put a good amount of yourself into your books. Is that right?
Yeah. My name is on the cover, so I'm going to be in there. But I think that, honestly, I care a lot about having authentic emotional experiences in what I write. And
Mm,
I think there's no better place to mine than your own life for those really
yeah,
important moments, because then the book serves as a source of connection for others and they can relate to what is very brutally honestly put out there in the pages.
right.
So I don't do nonfiction, I don't do memoir, but I do emotional autobiographies to an extent. And there's definitely a lot in there that I have not experienced, that I have not felt. But I think the core is something that I do draw from my own life. And I do hope that it speaks to other people who have been through that. And I've heard other authors talk about how the more they put of themselves in their work, the
Mm,
more the responses from their readers. And so I think honesty is very important to me even as a fiction writer. So yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because they can taste the realism and the honesty and the true emotions and the fact that this has actually happened to someone. It just makes it feel so much more tangible.
Absolutely. And there are ways for me to express myself personally. And so I
Mm,
was an investment banker who did have a love affair with yoga, and I didn't feel like I belonged in the office environment. I was very unhappy there. And I think a lot of people who are discontented in office jobs and have dreams that come from over glamorized Instagram, they'll relate to that and they'll say, oh
mm-hmm.
man, like it'd be nice to have a lifestyle brand, and instead of, come in every day at my office job. So I think that that was a source of the angst for that book, which people have responded to. And it's not just people in finance, but basically anywhere where people feel burnt out, where they feel like their well-being and wellness is taking a hit
Yeah,
for their job. That it's resonated with those people. And it's angst against the authority in the office, which I mean there's a lot of that in Breathe In Cash Out, and that's resonated with people. And now for the love proof, it's connection with people who are not immediately right there. And so I think that those are things that I've been through, and I really try to do that emotion justice in each book.
yeah. Well, mission accomplished.
Thanks, Kelly.
Well, and I think obviously, yoga has had a major impact on your life. So I'm curious how much yoga philosophy itself goes into your books as well.
Well, I really did have a turning point in my life when I started to get into yoga, because it became a huge source of confidence and calm. So I
Mm,
think that working in finance, you're told, okay, do more, produce more, work more. And yoga is this message of do less. And how many places or people in your life ever say do less,
I
or ever
know.
say think less? And yoga was there for me saying, hey, feel more, hey, like take a break. And it wasn't self-indulgent, it was really necessary for health. And I think everyone knows when they're working too hard, and there isn't always an easy answer of how to deal with that. And for me, yoga was so it was like a maternal reassurance, and it really helped me rebalance after I was, sleeping under my desk and doing all these crazy things. And then the more I've learned about it, that has also worked its way into my writing. So
Mm-hmm.
the idea of humility and letting go of your ego, which can drive you to overwork, has been very important for me. And that is in the love proof in Sophie specifically, who is, I mean, people can talk it out whether or not she makes the right decisions for herself, but I think that she embodies humility. And I think that she does not have the ego that everyone is really accustomed to, especially for someone with her accomplishments. And I
Yeah.
think that that is where I've got that idea of, okay, I want to write about someone who's really, who has this humility that it has been so important to me. So
I love that. No, I think it's clear that you put a lot of yourself in your books, and why shouldn't you? Because they're your books, gosh darn it. Also, that, it just clearly shows the effects that yoga has had for you, and also that Oh my gosh, everybody could do with a step back and take a breath and just reevaluate how things are going for you.
Exactly. And so I am also influenced by a yogi named Tara Stiles who says she's in slowing down mode, and I think that
Mm.
that's just a nice reminder is okay, why don't you just enter slowing down mode? And it's not that you're going to suddenly the world's going to fall apart because you're not checking your email all the time, but it actually creates space for you to really flourish. And I think that there aren't enough of those messages out there, and this gets back to over giving, which can
Yeah.
be an issue for women, but just the issue of taking time and creating space for yourself so that you can flourish is really important. And I found that through yoga. So I kind of have this when I talk about it, I hope it doesn't come off as like self-indulgent, because it really
No.
is for flourishing for every human being.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's not.
it's the whole idea of taking care of yourself before you're
Yeah,
able to take care of somebody. It's charging your batteries. You know, if you don't
exactly.
charge the
Yeah.
batteries, you're not a hard copy book. Your battery will run out. So you got
Yeah.
to take care of yourself before you're able to, provide for anybody else. No, I totally get it, and I know I'm guilty of not doing that enough as well. But yeah, no, I mean, yoga has done for you what I feel like reading has done for me, is like I carve out
Mm.
time in my schedule to say, you know what, set it down, step back, open a book, chill out. Like just sort of like finding
Mm.
time for yourself. And maybe it's yoga, maybe it's reading, maybe it's swimming. I don't, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think we
Or
all
maybe
need
it's
that.
cooking,
Oh,
something that is your
cooking.
area. Yeah.
Yeah, we all need to slow down. And I think 2020, I know it was a shit show completely, but I think if nothing else, it kind of gave a lot of people the push they needed to slow down, like
Mm.
whether you wanted it or not. And I'm sure most of us were not prepared for it, but it was kind of like the kick in the pants to have to slow down.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of the in-person stimulation was removed from your life. So you're suddenly
Yeah,
alone more. And it was really, I have some introvert friends who felt sort of replenished by this whole
I
year,
bet.
but everyone to an extent had something to gain from slowing down. You gain an hour not commuting suddenly. I
Yeah,
obviously there are burdens with, taking care of kids and other devastating job losses,
right.
but to the extent that you are at home more by yourself, there's a chance to recharge a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. So, bringing things back to the book, I know we had talked a little bit about how you had started with science fiction. And one of the things I did find unique about this story is the fact that it takes place over, the span of so many decades. So, I'm curious, what were some of the highlights of writing a story that takes place over so many years? And what were some of the challenges of doing that?
Well, part of the exciting in the exciting category is so because it's over a lifetime, it obviously extends into the future because it starts in contemporary times.
Yeah,
So I went out and I did some research. Okay, what are the predictions for what the world is going to look like in 100 years? And that's fascinating. You see people, there are whole conferences devoted to this, where people make 3D models of what the world is going to look like. And so I was really fascinated by people's predictions for the future, which is not something that I previously spent a lot of time thinking about because I was trying to, survive today. But so that was really fun. And it's also fun to have a forward looking lens because no one can say you're wrong.
that's
And so
true.
I kind of relished in that, and I thought, okay, awesome. This is going to happen. And I had some creative license there. So I did enjoy that. And I think one of the challenges is getting into the head of someone at the end of their lives and who's had a very powerful connection in their youth. And then, okay, what is that connection rolled forward? And so
Right.
I did my research there, and I did spend a lot of time thinking about that, but I just wanted to do it justice because, we go through life and we have, I believe, stronger connections to certain people. You just click.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get each other in ways nobody else can really understand, in ways that other people do not get you. And so I thought, okay, well, what is that like, 50 years in the future? What is your relationship to that person? And so that was more of a challenge, but I did my research and I think it came out well.
Yeah, I agree. Well, okay, and so in the mind of Madeleine Henry, what does the future hold for us? I'm so curious. Give me a couple highlights of what we can expect in our future.
Well, I found it fascinating to read about predictions for cities in that they didn't become more technologically advanced, but more rural in appearance. So suddenly there's more green and there are more waterways and there's more, because if you go and you believe that there's going to be rising oceans and there's going to be water coming into the city, then suddenly they're actually greener and more watery. And, the conventional notion of the future is that the buildings are bigger, everything's more automated. But what if actually cities become greener and there are waterways running next to roads? So I sort of went more in that direction because I was really fascinated by that.
I think that's the future that we all need. Like, I
know.
like, that definitely takes away some of the terror of like global warming and, the poor ice caps. I mean, I'm like, okay, I think I could do okay if there was a river running through town. Like, that seems fine.
Yeah, and then there's the self-care boat that goes on the channel and you just hop on and everything is great.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with this future. Like, if I can sign up for a future, that this one will work for me.
Yeah, I'm there.
I love it. Okay, well, and then last thing on the book before we wrap things up, and that is, what's one takeaway that you hope readers will have after reading The Love Proof?
Well, I think that The Love Proof is about a woman who tries to prove that the ones we love are always connected to us. And so you do learn a lot about the universe, space, and time. But I think more important than that, I think more than I care that anyone learns anything that's in there, is I really want people to be moved by the connection between Sophie and Jake that lasts for so long. And I think at the core of this book, it is showing the work versus love trade-off that we all face to an extent. And more than I hope that people focus on the intellectual part of the book, I hope they focus on the emotional part and they really just bond with this visceral connection.
Yeah, I think they will. I know I did. And I think judging by, the amount of glowing reviews that the book has received so far, like, I think it's clear that it is having an emotional impact on so many readers. So well done, you.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I think that there was a moment in my life where I really realized that the mind was not helping me and I needed to feel more and get more in touch with my emotional existence. And so there was a time when I stopped caring about being smart and I really just wanted to be emotionally in touch with myself and with others. And so that's really at the core of this book, is valuing connection, like valuing relationships and valuing this compassionate connection among all people. And so I hope that it's really the emotional part that is paramount to people and not the things you learn about space and time.
Yeah, it's emotional intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Okay, well, so, obviously The Love Proof is available now wherever books are sold. I hope everyone grabs a copy. And Madeleine is obviously roaring to go on book club discussions, so Skype her in, everyone. But what's up next for you? Because I know that you have at least another book, Food Fight, in the works, so I'd love to know what's coming up next.
Oh, for sure. So I just love to write, so can't stop, won't stop.
Yes.
And the next book is called Food Fight, and it's about a chef in New York City. And my short snippet, like my preview, my like clickbait, is it's where great food meets true nourishment. So we're getting into all the
Ooh.
food, the emotions around food for women. And I'm really excited about it because I love food, and I think that it's a really charged issue for a lot of people. So I'm excited to hash that out in a book.
I'm excited to read it because I think the only thing I talk about just as much as romance is food.
Well, those sound like great conversations. So you're doing it right, Kelly. You got it figured out.
Okay. I'm glad I've got your approval. Yeah, I mean, if you want to hear me rant about romance and discuss food and reality television, this is the podcast for you.
Love it. Love it.
So do we have a date or a date range in mind for when we can expect Food Fight?
No, I think that I'm going to wait until Love Proof, those conversations they start to trail off, and then I'll talk more about Food Fight.
Sounds good. Here in the moment. We're focused on now.
Oh, yes.
Now, I did just say focus on now, but I'm going to ask you another question about the future. And that is something I ask all authors, which is there a story that you are dying to write?
Oh my gosh. Is there a story I'm dying to write? Well, you know what? It would have to be, if not, I sort of have my book after Food Fight idea. And so I sort of haven't said it anywhere, but you know what, Kelly? I like you. So, so the book that I would like to write after Food Fight has to do with reincarnation, and it has to do with two souls who are soulmates, and they find each other in historical epic after historical epic, and there's more plot around that, but that's the general structure, and the challenges await them. So
sweet Jesus, I will take it all.
Yeah, and there'll be romance and there'll be food. So this will be good.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's an epic in the making. So
hopefully.
I will epically await it.
Thanks, Kelly.
Well, Madeleine, we've almost come to the end, and my final question is, do you have any advice for newbie romance readers, seeing as the podcast is called Boobies and Newbies? The whole idea is to bring in new romance readers to the genre. So what do you have to say to them?
I would say listen to Boobies and Newbies all the time. I would say just have it going in your car, have it going when you're cooking, just listen to it and love it.
Well, I appreciate the endorsement, and I will take it and put it on a bumper sticker. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Where can everybody find and follow you?
So I love Instagram. I'm at Madeleine Henry Yoga, and I share way too much yoga and way too much about my life on there.
No.
So that's one thing. And then the other is I do actually share the books that I'm reading on Goodreads on my author profile. And I have a website, it's madeleinehenry.com, where you can find events and contact me for book club Zooms and the playlist for the Love Proof.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and, discussing everything under the sun, from food and yoga to emotional intelligence, and of course your book, The Love Proof. So I feel like this is going to be the motivational episode that everyone needs in their life.
Oh my gosh, that is so nice. Well, I just had so much fun, and I'm such a huge fan. So thank you so much.
Oh, the feeling is mutual. Thanks so much for listening. Boobies and Newbies is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts. You can follow Boobies and Newbies on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Boobies Podcast.